Live.
All right.
All right.
I get that spirit right there with that literacy. Hey.
I'm excited about the books now. Yeah.
Hey. Alrighty. I don't want to get it too litty up inside here, you know, at the lovely Covenant Methodist Church, I believe, correct? Methodist? Yep, thank you. So, welcome this evening to our third edition of Freedom Scholar Learning Center Family to Family Workshops. And today's actual highlight will be the love of reading. And today I have two wonderful ladies here who are and have been in company and leading the actual Rochester Freedom Schools for over 14 years. There's been many ups, several downs, but I can tell you what, in it all, literacy was always a pillar. And today we're going to share with you some ideas in which we feel why literacy is important, why we want to actually get kids and families to engage in the love for reading. So, before we start, I want to give out some additional reading sources for parents that will be very, very lovely in many, many ways when it comes to actually having resources at home. All right, and some of those sources are Mayan, GoNoodle.com, CommonLit.org, Newsla.com. So that's news as in news, newsletter, LA.com, NewYork.pbslearningmedia.org, ReadingWorks.org, and lastly, Monroe County LibraryWeb.org are some great website and resources. We'll put those in the links to share with parents so that way they can have. But these are some sources for home reading and ways that you can engage with you and your kids in family reading at home. All right? And without further ado, let's get this thing started, ladies. So, as always, we'll have a series of questions that we'll ask about the importance of identifying what it is when it comes to falling in love with reading. One thing I want to put out as a disclaimer is for all those instructors, for all those kids who out there love reading, who want to learn reading early, immersion, or mastery. Very important that you understand that reading in our eyes is not based upon repetition. It's all about being able to recognize. All right? And without further ado, all right, my first question to the group will basically be, how do you instill the love for reading? How do we do that at Freedom School, Brittany? How do we do that?
All right, well, hello, those who are watching. I'm Brittany. So I would say what we've done, and I think really works, is I won't say exposing them, but sharing books with them that are relatable, relevant, so they match the experiences that they may be dealing with in their own communities. I've just seen the power naturally how if our scholars see books that look like them, how it just draws that interest of what story is this going to be told, like what is this about, is really key. Something I just came across, like a quote is, be a reader to grow a reader. So we ourselves are readers. The kids see us reading, picking up books and you know, dropping everything and reading with them. Also encourage them and inspires them to say, you know what, this role model person that's in front of me for these weeks, they like to read too, and I want to do the same. During our read aloud, which we bring in wonderful people from the community to also share that love of reading, we act out the book. We'll get right in the middle and we'll bring that book alive by becoming the character to really keep our kids with that imagination which they need as children and to stay children. Is one of the things, and then just giving them a variety. If you see right here, we have so many different books, from small chapter books to big books with pictures that they can choose from, and you can pick up any one. We've had our little ones who want to pick up a big book like the Muhammad Ali the Greatest. And that's okay because we're exposing them to, you know, want to strive to read books that are a little more difficult and more challenging, but also books that really draw their interest. So, I mean, I think those are the biggest things that you can do, and just you know, making sure there's a library. Also, we've let them pick out any books they want and take them home. Borrow the book, keep it for the weekend until you finish it, but we also would want to still, like, what did you learn about it and what did you find out? So that's a big key in instilling the love of reading, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tashara, you want to back that up?
Sure. To build off, I really like the way you talked about the relevancy because the kids these days, they need to read books that have things in their community. So they like to read these books that have some of their shared experiences. if they can read a book and see or read about gun shooting and hear the big message and learn from it, it helps them. So these books are like helpful tools for everyday living. It gives them the skills to navigate this unequal world right now. So they need to read these kind of books in order to face everything that's going outside. Most of these books have a message.
They do.
And they get the kids get that message and are able to take that message out into the world with them. So we love to have scholars read these kind of books, like to enjoy the reading and to learn and get the message.
And I like that because every lesson in IRC is tied to a daily theme and also a focus skill. And the focus skill is usually something that's tied to the academic ability. Can you comprehend? Can you understand figurative language? But the daily theme is the message, the author's purpose. And a lot of that, like you said earlier, it relates to both of you guys, their shared experiences. Right?
Like, I'm not the only one going through this.
That's right. That's right.
Or, oh, wow, is someone else in another part of the country? They had gun violence, or, maybe they lost a parent or a family member, so just being relatable, something that I can build off of and know that I'm not alone, and then how do I take that experience and make it better for myself?
That's true. That's true. Because some of the solutions that they have in these books are the solutions that kids don't even think of. They even think of trying, or even see as a solution. But if they dealt with it that way, same situation, how they got through it, maybe I can get through it. Would you agree with me, Tashara, that the message in most of these books is all about reaching successful passage to adulthood? Would you agree with me on that one?
Yeah.
I think for the most part, no matter how you get there,
it tries to be a happy ending.
No matter how you get, sometimes it's not, but it's always sometimes they get right. I would say for the most part, I would say.
Or the journey is still going on.
The journey is rich.
They reach another plateau of life.
Yes, I agree. All right, me to answer that question, how do we instill love for our text from what I've seen us do over the years? I think that some of the books in some kind of way emphasize some type of arts. It's arts integrated, right? And when I say arts, I'm talking about everything from artistic ability to poetry to dialogue to graphic noveling, right? I think, especially like this book right here. Shout out to Brandon White, if he's on right now. Brandon White of Unbound Ad. He's also a close brother of mine who actually came through the Freedom School movement with me. He came up with his new autobiography that's a graphic autobiography about Malcolm X. And it's written in like comic form. So like kids can actually engage for those comic book lovers, take it back to the days and give us his actual story with no filter.
That's the real superhero, right?
Right, exactly, right? So for those kids who like books written a certain way when it comes to looking at text, I think that our books do that. And I think that kind of instills that love for reading. Right. Do we have any questions right now, Devin, from the audience at this moment? Can we go to the next question?
Well, if we don't, I just want to remind everyone to visit our website, freedomscholarslc.org, our YouTube and Facebook, Freedom Scholars Learning Center. Watch the video, like, and subscribe.
Please. All right, so this next question that I brought up, or that we want to bring to the table when it comes to looking at how do we get kids to fall in love with literacy and what have we done over the years to do so. I think this would really help parents understand why are we so good at what we do when we do this. And I'm going to start this off by looking at you, Tashara, about the integrated reading curriculum, right? So if you can help me understand basically, or help the audience understand is, what is the integrated reading curriculum and how is it developed?
So the integrated reading curriculum, which you'll hear us say IRC.
That's right, IRC.
We like to have our acronyms. So IRC originally started from the 1964 Mississippi Summer Freedom Project. So if you don't know about that, I'm going to put it up to you to do some research learn about the 1964 Mississippi Summer Freedom Summer Project. So do your homework. It started out as a voter registration drive for African Americans, and from there, many organizations came together and started us African Americans to begin to read more.
That's right.
And to this day, it branches out into weekly themes where you read books about yourself, you read books about your family, your community, about the country and the world, and it gives you a broader sense of not just African American, but people of color and how they go about their lives daily, again, tied to those different themes. And what we try to do for the kids in the summer is we try to get them familiar with different people of color who have stories out about them, to get them more familiar with people that they should know about. Because like we all know about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, but there are many, many other people that have done tremendous things that we don't know about.
Right.
So for us, we try to pull out those books that get our kids to learn about all the other wonderful superhero people that don't get as much recognition as some of our favorites. So we try to instill this love of reading through these books and get them give them more knowledge and information about other people of color.
Thank you. And not just that, to piggyback on, plus that, and I would say one thing I would like to add what Jashara said, is that these books, for some odd reason, well not our reason, but they're intentional. They tell the story of the fight. They tell the story of the resistance. They tell the story of the champion, right? Not always the laying down, not always the giving up, not always the story of that. Exactly, right? These books share that, there were slave revolts. It was slave resistance. And that's what forced the government hands in many ways to change these laws, which freed them. Instead of always saying that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves.
Or I thought my life would be this way.
Exactly.
But I had to go through, the road was rocky.
Yes.
Before I was able to get what I needed to get. It took longer, it took years, but I did it. So.
But it's the real deal. It lets us know what happened.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come from one perspective mind.
No, it doesn't.
This is many perspectives that put together the whole puzzle.
And that's
of
one
our
thing
history.
that I bother with so much, and I have so much heated tension towards when it comes to curriculum and curriculum writing for our kids. It's always a perspective missing, or multiple perspectives missing, right? And I sit there and I wonder to myself, how much of this is intentional and how much of this that needs to be changed, because if it doesn't, it's going to continue to create these actual problems that we have with reading, right? So, Ms. Brittany, would you like to answer that question? What is IRC? How do we develop it? What's IRC?
So, a part that stood out to me of how we take the books and use IRC is the activities that go along with it. I had never had endured that before I got to the Freedom School motto, where usually you read a book and they want you to summarize, you write 5 sentences, that's what I learned. The IRC makes it come to life even more, and again, love of reading, by doing activities. So if we have, Muhammad Ali, he's a boxer, and, he wants the community to represent or support him, he probably go door to door and tell everyone, this is what I want to do. We can enact that same kind of idea with our scholars. I say, okay, let's go door to door and tell them about something that we want support from them about, and it brings it to life. It really applies to them, lets them get out and do it themselves. Rather, like you said, the arts, drawing about the book, or the part of the intro, like, what is it about? That's like try to recall or guess. Maybe it's not all about boxing. Maybe it's about his earlier life, or maybe he didn't want to be a boxer at first. So that's what I realized, the activities that tie into it, instead of just summarize what you read. It's really creative.
Definitely
it's bringing our kids, those talents and skills that we didn't know they could draw like that.
Exactly.
Or we didn't know that they had poetry in them based off the book, what the book might have been about. So I think that's the biggest piece of the activities that really stood out differently for me when it comes to IRC. That's usually non-traditional, then it's a summary and, that's it. So.
I like that. I would say my understanding of what IRC is and how we develop it, according to what we've done over the years, to piggyback on what you guys are saying, is that it's definitely something that's linguistic capital driven. And when I say linguistic capital, I'm talking about the words, right? The language that's in these books, right? The language is about perseverance, right? The language is about fighting. The language is about, you know what I'm saying, overachieving. Not just trying to strive, but really thrive, you know? So I think that I love that about IRC. I also love that it's really, really history driven and not his story driven. And that right there, especially for kids who come from backgrounds where we come from, they don't get enough richness about their history, right? It's usually his story that they get, so. All right, okay. All right, what's your favorite book? IRC, over all these years, what would be your favorite book? Oh, it's here? It's here?
Look at this here. People always want to touch our hair and ask us,
Yes, you see,
why
yeah.
your hair feel like that, or how you get,
Yeah.
What you mean when you say people? What are you talking about?
people, you know who you are. Don't touch my hair. So
Okay.
like, this book, like, it makes us love us.
It does.
Because of the way we are.
That's right.
We
That's
are
right.
fine just
Yes,
the way
yes,
we are. And if
yes.
you want to learn about
Yes,
it,
yes.
you do the research.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I'm fine with mine just like you fine with yours.
Oh, come on, we gotta get something.
So, like, these are the things we want to teach our kids.
That's
like,
right.
be
Intentional.
okay in the
Intentional.
skin you in.
Confidence.
Be okay
Yes.
with the hair you got. Be okay with how you dress.
That's right.
Be okay. It is okay.
That's
Ain't
right.
nobody the same.
That's right.
And you still love.
I
So
like
like
that.
it's books like these, especially those little kids who like walk around and got that crinkly hair.
Yeah.
Your hair is beautiful, baby.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful.
You'd be surprised how much I think that plays in the role of our kids struggle in school. Not because we live in a society that says how you look is how we're going to actually judge you, but you know they feel that because the way I look, I should be judged. But they don't want to. I just nobody gonna say it out loud. But if you knew that, no. The way you look, the only way that you should be judged is that I'm beautiful. And if you look at it like that, then that's okay.
And
Right,
we
so-
don't. Some of our kids don't always see that.
They don't.
Like,
They don't.
I personally have experienced kids coming into class and they call them, you know, they
That's
consider
true.
having a bad hair day and
That's
that
true.
messes up their whole day. But
true.
baby, your hair is beautiful no matter how.
That's what I'm saying.
And if
So
you
how many of
felt
our kids
that
go
way,
through that? That's what I'm saying. That plays a role.
If you knew how beautiful it was, your day would have been much better.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Definitely. Definitely. Alrighty. Miss Brittany,
Oh,
what would you say your favorite book? Favorite book?
Got you all
So-
right now, huh?
Going back to what you said, so the first book I was servant leader had level 3s. The skin I'm in.
Sharon G.
by Sharon G.
Flake.
Flake is my favorite. And this is why, because I'm like, it's a chocolate girl, look like me on this book. And what she thought everyone perceived her as like this being dark and ugly,
Yeah,
behind the scenes they thought she had the most beautifulest skin.
that's right.
And they really honored and really, you know, highlighted her. And she hadn't realized that until she noticed how their confidence was so low. They had low self-esteem. And she was trying to build them up. And in the long run, she found out that they honored and had, you know, they appreciated her confidence that she had, which helped her say, you know what, I love the skin that I'm in. You know, I can't change who I am. I'm not going to make myself different. And that's what sometimes our young ladies have to deal with. And them have to realize and just like be comfortable in how you look. You know, my hair may be short or my eyebrows thin or whatever. You can always buy it and put it on, do how you want to do. But those are things that that book really resonated with her, not realizing how beautiful she really was. So that was a really good, especially for our young girls.
Exactly.
And males too, you know,
Yeah,
for
that's
our
true.
boys too.
That's true. That's true.
That was
That's
my
true.
favorite.
And that's one of the biggest things that I used to have a gripe with, especially Shaquille. I'll never forget the Shaquille Peter kid. That was one of my scholars, a good young man. He was he would get very upset when we had to read The Skin I'm In because it was a young black girl on the cover. Remember, I got all boys, right? So, no, well, we got to read this girl book, you know. And then one of the boys said, well, it's not really about a girl. It's about the things that we look and how we look. It's really about being beautiful and how we look at ourselves.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we need to read the book. How do you know that? He just knew that off the title and looking at the cover. So that kind of drew their interest in, right? So that was pretty dope. I would say my favorite book would probably be Freedom Under Me. I like Freedom on the Menu because it tells the story of the Greensboro citizens. And it breaks it down in a way in which it's child appropriate, but it's still very raunchy and raw about how and what happened and what events aspired due to, for individuals feeling that, no more way I'm going to be treated for the color of my skin. I'm going to actually fight for what I need, or the little man, right, the David, is going to fight the Goliath, the system, to see, that I won't back down. And every time I read that story, the knee-jerk reaction I get for all our kids is the initial resistance of fighting back. And I love that. And the reason why I love that is because the fight is always in us. We just got to channel it in the right way, right?
They did non-violently.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't get that story. That comes later. They're like, yo, man, yeah, why would you do? Might spit on me and throw an egg on me. Yo, he snuffed him? Yeah, that happened, right? So it is what it is. But that's one of the stories one of the favorite books that I have. Miss Brittany, who's your favorite author? Yeah, so many of them. Over a wide range, over 80 authors?
I mentioned Skin I'm in, so I like the Sharon G. Flake, Sharon Draper.
Yeah, Draper's dope.
So these Sharons are really, I really like their books, so I'm going to say those two are my main authors.
Tashar?
I don't know if I have a favorite author, but I have a favorite genre.
Okay.
I love these nonfiction books.
Yeah.
You get to learn about a person.
That's real events.
It gets real. You really get to know the life of all these people.
You do.
And I find that fascinating because it's like an eye opener.
It is.
Because I didn't live during their time, so I would have never met them, but I could go back to a book and find out everything about them.
That's right.
So, no author, but definitely genre.
I would have to say my favorite authors are Nikki Giovanni and Walter Dean Myers. Those would be my favorite two. And the reason why I love those two, because again, like Tashara said, just their words and how they put words together to connect imagery to, what's going on in the text is like, yo, this just happened to me yesterday, or wow, this is happening right now in my life. The way they did that was very, very impeccable. So, yeah.
And that Walter D. Myers is one of the nonfiction gurus. A lot of those books are those nonfiction that give you all the facts.
Exactly. All right, so if I was a parent and let's say I was at home, you got a question? Okay, nice. What's that question?
What books can you recommend for children age 5?
Good question. So, in terms of reading to children, I don't think there's an actual limit for that. But if children are going to read books for that age, I would definitely look for books in the emergent readers, right, level. I would definitely read books that tie into connecting culture to learning. A lot of our kids are exposed to books in these levels at kindergarten that are over 60 to 80% object, animal, and European representative in terms of what they see in the books. And I don't know what role that plays, but I'm pretty sure it plays a huge role. I know Walmart has a lot of books that are in aisles that are for kids of all ages. Wegmans also have books for kids of all ages. The library, I can't really answer that question right from this point because, we're here to talk about the love of reading. But there is stuff out there, and I will recommend these sources that we put online for people to check to actually look into to actually help them out with those particular findings.
But then, like I said earlier, be a reader to grow a reader. So read with the child or, someone with them. They'll be, wanting to pick up that book. This is my favorite book. They may not know the words, but they'll start recognizing the pictures and identifying words, and then, kind of remembering what the book is, recognition of what the book is about. So that's another thing.
And if that person who asked that question has like a specific theme, we can probably recommend something based on a specific theme. If there's like something that 5-year-old really, can relate to or want to learn more about, we can recommend something in that area. But as far as just books for that age, it's just like endless
Yeah,
amount of books for any age and grade.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So I guess what I'll do is that'll be a good segue into the next question, because the next question that we want to focus on is looking at how do we develop high quality academic enrichment at home, right? And I don't really have a blueprint answer to that, but some ideas that I wrote down is some ideas that Freedom School have been known, and Freedom Scholar Learning Center will be known to give parents ideas on these particular skills. So one of them is reading for fun, right? So identifying ways where you can actually create fun in reading at home. So ways such as creating word walls, literature walls at home, right? Creating vocab word walls, right? Stuff like that on the refrigerator, in the living room, wherever, where you can every now and then quiz kids on certain words, certain pronunciation of letters, right? Sounds, whatever that may be. It can take 10 to 15 minutes on a day-to-day basis. You'd be surprised how much improvement you'll see from the linguistic capital of learning how to actually say words and read words, right? Reading for challenge, right? What is reading for challenge? Well, that's the way you can create some positive reinforcement. Some ideas I came up with is looking at multimedia, right? Having kids, identify words from a book that they know, right? Now find that word somewhere written on Instagram, or find that word somewhere written in a newspaper, right? Did they use it the same way in the same context, right? In the English language, words can mean one word can mean, the way you use it can mean so many different things, right? So have them do something like that, where it's still something that it's liking or something that they're used to, but at the same time, it's like a challenge of some sort. And also looking at reading for a community, you know what I'm saying? Reading field trips, going to the library, right? Reading at the park, reading at the beach. I think all those are good ways in which you can actually enrich reading at home to make it high quality.
Reading in the car.
Reading in the car.
Mom and dad driving.
That's
Look
right.
at that sign. What that sign say? All those small things, especially when you go on a trip. What state we in? What does that big sign say? Like, parents, what we have to do better at is having the kids read at home. It cannot be just done in school.
It cannot.
It has to continue at home.
It has to.
So it's on us as parents to make sure that it does not stop. It's not just a school thing. It's a forever thing, an all day thing, a school and home thing. That's what we as parents gotta remember. You can make it fun. You can wild out with reading.
Exactly. And there's no right or wrong way when you're doing it at home, right? It's the act of exposing it, so that way you begin recognition, so that way now kids are more comfortable and confident because they've seen this word, right, used in so many different ways. Not memorizing it, but just seeing it in so many different ways, in different contexts, that now they begin to get stronger with actually identifying that word.
You said make it a challenge. Put the captions on the bottom of the TV.
That's right.
Try to read the captions before the next set of captions come on.
But we're going to talk about that
kinds of
in our
challenges.
next question. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some stuff like that. You have to be, definitely. What would you say is the difference between having books that are culturally responsive versus cultural relevant?
Good question.
I think the responsive, the responsive part is like, we gotta hit on this subject because because it's a subject.
I see where you're going.
And it's happening right now. It's happening right now.
So we have to be responsive.
Like books right now that identify talking about racism and talking about protesting should be books that are used right now. Should be highlighted.
Relevant is because that we need to fix it.
Because it's about
affects
you
us.
and it affects you. Okay, all right. Because I used to bother with that. You see that a lot of professional developments. Some of them use culture relevant, some use culture responsive. So you know me, I use culture reflective, right? I want to read books that are always about me, right? I want to know that every time I step inside a room or a school, I know that I'm supposed to be here, right? A lot of our kids hate school because they feel like they ain't supposed to be at that school. And the school put up many measures to make it feel that way, right? So that's one thing that, you know, I've always seen. Exactly. That's very key. That's very key, you know. So, what would you say is the biggest challenge at home when it comes to reading? Because if you want to help parents, well, that's good that they say that, but I work all day, right?
I was gonna say
So,
time.
right, so is it a dedication to finding time? You have to find it?
Well, I think, time, you know, time go by so fast. I mean, here we are, almost in May. I would think just carving out small bits of time. Sometimes we think we gotta have an hour, we gotta have 30 minutes. It may literally be 5 minutes, like you guys say, reading in the car, what's the word say? So while you know, finishing up brushing your teeth, maybe a page or that vocabulary, that word wall, okay, what's these 5 words? And you repeat them, it's something like, so maybe not stretching out the time too much, but maybe cut back on the time, a few minutes, as opposed to, I don't have an hour or 2, can like help. What else? Extended feeling, like, we all about extended feeling. It's not just, okay, the mom or dad parent works. Who's with the child? Who else is with them that can say, you know what, help me out?
That's true.
You know, have that same investment.
There has to be accountability, right? If my child is reading behind 2 grade levels, it is not just that school fault.
Yeah.
It has to be some accountability, right? I had a parent text me today. 3rd market period grades came, the young man is still struggling, right? I see a lot of growth in his emotional and social, but he's still struggling academically. The mom blamed us, right? But it's okay. We all understand, but that's the thing, right? Accountability is everything. I think that's very important when it comes to reading, right? This is a village, right? This village.
I think when we say the school, they do have a purpose and a job that they say they're going to fulfill by helping enhance the reading, but the foundation starts home.
At home.
Sometimes, I mean, we can't depend on others to do the things that for our children, we have to do it ourselves. So I think it's just finding that balance. I'm expecting this from you, from the school, but I'm going to cover my end. Can you cover your end? Kind of thing. What you say in the village. So I'm doing my part to raise them. I need your assistance, so you got to meet me halfway. But I can't just throw it and leave it all to you because I got things going on and vice versa.
I think that at home, it's extremely important that, you know, the foundation is built on reading, like you said, and the reason why I say that is because I think that at home is a place where, you know, you have the most confidence. You should have the most confidence and feel the most comfortable to make your mistakes, right? So that way, when you're out in the community, right, you feel more confident in not making those mistakes that you usually have, right? So I think that it's extremely important. It's bottom line that every home figure out a way to instill the importance of reading at home, right? I don't care if it's reading, you know, for some of the activity that we talked about, right? And we're going to give a bunch of different strategies for building reading at home, right? Outside of just the techniques, but for all the viewers, we got to make sure we find a way, right? Even if it's reading rap lyrics.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say magazines.
Yeah, magazines, right?
The little postcard or the little magazine. They want you to buy stuff and get the BJ's magazine all the time.
Yeah.
What is it?
Parents have to do an
Magnets.
interest survey on their kids.
Yeah.
That's
They
true.
need to see what the kids like,
That's true.
and then you can build from there. If you know your child really likes football, get some football books. Cause they want to learn about football. Here you go. Here's a book.
That's right.
So like, know what your child likes, and go from there. Cause like my child, she loves cheerleading.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna get you some cheerleading stuff, and you're gonna read about it before I sign you up for cheerleading. So you already got some background
Research.
knowledge.
Now you got some
Yeah,
research.
and exactly. Still, even kindergartners can do research
Exactly.
if you know what they like.
And I think that what I could say to piggyback off that, and I had to go into my notes to find that, is that you have to understand that learning to read is like learning to talk, right? It takes a lot of exposure. It takes a lot of, you know what I'm saying, putting yourself in that field of, you know, and wow, I'm about to take on this challenge, right? I've had kids in elementary and lower levels when it came to reading individually or reading books in general, run to the books where, you know, they want to read every book. And then I had some kids that will try their best. Can I use the bathroom? Can I go over here? Just to not even sit and touch the text. And I say to myself, how long have you been doing this if you're in 4th grade and you're still afraid to touch the text? Right? So I think just with getting our senses into literature at an early age as much as possible is very important. Very, very important. Very important.
And making it interesting.
It is, yeah.
You have to make it has to be interesting to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brittany was talking about those activities that come with it. Because if it's not interesting, it's going in one ear and coming out the other.
Like, I'm thinking about a book for my daughter. She loves bubbles, the book of bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Dollar Store and get a thing of bubbles.
Yeah.
You attach the activity to the book.
Mm-hmm.
So now she's like, I noticed a bubble book because I did bubbles, they did bubbles in the book. And that simple little thing right there. Now, okay, what other activity can I do based on the book that I might see?
Mm.
Mm-hmm. That's simple.
Mm. So, what's the importance of these? Because at our freedom school, we still have these, right? I know right now this may be a relic for a lot of people, but we still use these at our freedom school. So, Brittany, could you walk me through the importance of
Oh, let me see. I remember.
dictionary?
Well, I remember there are times we had to look up a definition. I remember we used to have to write the word 5 times each and do the spelling word so that we'll remember that vocabulary. I think the important is because sometimes I know we are so into technology, social media, the internet. And you know, the students will learn that even, you know, as they get older, but not everything is reliable on the internet. And again, this is a source of literature. This is reading too. I mean, you looking up a book, but looking up a word, but technically you are reading a reliable source to give you the definition of something. So I feel like
Somebody told me down the road, and tell me if, and this is why I think, and Tashara, you correct me if I'm right with this. Somebody said that expert readers, the difference between expert readers and I think novelist readers, and I think novelist readers is like strugglers, that's whatever. The difference between them two is that expert readers know more words. It's not about that they can read it better. It's not about that they can understand it better. It's not that they know more sure. The simple difference is that expert readers know more words than emergent readers or novelist readers. Would y'all agree with that? I'm not saying I believe that, but it did blow me away. The power of words, right? And that's what I was saying. It's not about memorization. It's about being able to recognize words through various contexts. And the only way you do that is through exposure. The more exposure you get.
what is it?
I think as a teacher,
You
and
said
the principle to
because
be.
they recognize, because they know how to say more
No,
words,
not say.
can
not-
read more words.
Because they recognize more words.
Okay.
That's the thing that separates expert readers from
That's
novices.
hard for me
One little thing.
to grasp because
It was for me too.
I could recognize words, but it has no bearing if
I don't know what it means.
I don't know what it means. Because it can come up in many contexts, and yeah, I know it, but like live and live. Like
Gotcha.
I see it, but I don't know which one it is because I don't
But
know.
what they're saying is that person knows that. They know which one is which. Not that they know the meaning of it, but they know that it's live or live. And that a struggling reader don't know the difference of that. And that's what separates them. I thought about that. I said that. And then one example that this person used was that they were working with a young 17-year-old young man who was in juvenile. And he was getting ready to get tested to see what he can do to gain his actual either GED or any alternative setting he was in while he was in juvenile. And as he was reading the words and doing the words with the lady, he couldn't say the word phone. He's 17, couldn't say the word phone. Because he didn't recognize that until she said it, and then when she said it, he said, oh, I didn't know P and H made the F sound.
Now we're talking about sounds and letter recognition.
But that's word, that's down to words. Words, right? Yeah, I think that the letter and the sound recognition is important, but I think that at 17, he should have known that word was phone.
Yeah, 17.
Exactly. Because he didn't get enough of exposure of knowing how to either say the word right or seeing the word said right.
Okay, now what?
It was hard for me to find. It didn't make sense to me too. All right, but
So this is how the dictionary ties in.
and that's what I think why it's important. Even just doing dictionary activities, even at home, just to recognize
a breakdown
words.
of how to pronounce it, the phonics of it.
It does.
Okay.
It
That
does.
one isn't so intimidating. What I'm used to
This is
is
kid friendly.
the friend
It
pages.
has pictures. It has pictures.
I can handle that.
I was black and white.
Scholastic, baby.
Paperback.
Scholastic.
Or they back to the challenging part. In school, they be like, okay, oh, how do you spell the word? They be like, here, look it up. So now I gotta try to see, it might be a P. Okay, it's not a P, it's an F. So I'm looking at P and I'm looking at F. So I'm doing research. I'm building skill. I'm actually finding out what the word is.
Yeah,
And
no.
I'm not having it done for me, but with me. Like, okay, I can tell you, but I think you should look it up too. So
And then when you're in there doing all that, you might as well see what it means.
yeah.
It also has how it's used in the sentence, like, oh, done. That's research for you.
So I got a question, and this is back to the reader or the actual. I hope that this actual viewer is still on because now I looked at my notes and I think I got the answer. But for children at young ages, right? What kind of books should they be reading? What could they read, especially in 5th grade? And to Shara, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I was reading somewhere that it talked about how like the ABCs or the alphabet was the greatest discovery ever to man.
I got it. What is this?
Why would somebody say that?
I have no
I
idea.
don't know either.
Do you believe that?
Okay, so now we getting a little different because it's like,
Because the
how do we know the English language is
It
the
ain't even right.
best language?
It ain't even.
I love how y'all look at it. I love how y'all look at it critical and deep. I love that. But
I
think
mean,
about
I
reading.
think it's what we
in
have
terms
now.
of reading.
Who
In
said
terms of
P?
reading.
Who decided PH should say F?
Exactly.
Like, where'd that come from?
But the alphabet, not the clusters, but the alphabet.
I mean, if you talk about the ABC song, I mean, that's all. I don't know.
We need to ask the ancient.
So I would say
Mayans
that
or
I
somebody.
think that it is one of the greatest inventions, not the greatest. And the only reason I would say that is because I think reading is everything.
What
And I
is
think
this?
letters, man, and breaking down letters and understanding letter sounds, right? So if parents don't really have a structure at home to read books for younger kids in 5th grade, or sorry,
ABCs.
in kindergarten at 5 years old, ABCs. Keep honing on those, keep understanding the sounds, right? Making sure reading out the letters and words, and also reading out the
Like the
letters.
flashcards?
Exactly. I think that'd be key. I think that was real
So the
crucial.
flash, it has the words, it breaks down lowercase, uppercase, okay.
All
yeah.
that. I think so. Now, I don't think it's the greatest invention, right?
But
But I think it's
it
something
has
that's working.
purpose, right?
The greatest is the refrigerator.
See, I think the microwave.
All about food. Get back to these books.
All right. So my next question for the team. What are some fun reading strategies for children at home? What do you guys think? Some fun reading strategies.
I like
I wrote down a few.
the little magnet letters
Okay.
and
Those
know,
are retro. You put them on the
put them on the
refrigerator.
refrigerator.
Yeah.
And our daughter like J for whatever, jam, and
Yeah.
you kind of just go through the ABC like you just mentioned, and then you kind of can spell out the words with the magnets. You can come up with a word that matches the letter of the magnet, and it's so colorful. You're on the refrigerator.
That's true.
So before you get a drink, what's the B stand? B for bat or whatever. So I think, and they're inexpensive, so parents get they're accessible from the beginning. You can put them on a whiteboard, put them on the refrigerator, rearrange them. You can come up with words by the color,
Yes.
things like that. So I would say those are one of my a good strategy for making them read and helping them out for me.
What is
And I
this?
like-
Shar, you got any particular go-to reading strategies at home for your children that you recommend for parents to use?
L. L. T. T.
Come back to me on that. Let me think of that.
All right, because I kind of beat you to the punch. I had some notes. I wrote down some stuff. I have popcorn reading.
Again.
Parents and kids should be familiar with popcorn reading.
What's popcorn?
Popcorn reading is an actual skill set in which parents can read with kids, kind of get you engaged with them, and you just stop at any word, and as you're reading, wherever you stop, that kid should pick up right then and there, right? And then vice versa. Wherever they stop, you should pick up right then and there, right? So it's like this hopscotch of, stopping and going and picking up where the other person left off, creating this popcorn kind of theme to it. So if you ever seen that before, I'm pretty sure your kids should be familiar with it. For kids in the Rochester City School District, it's a very wide range of ELA reading tool that teachers and school district and the schools use for our children. Cereal box reading. That's one thing about doing. Every morning she say, Dada, I want cereal. I always point, which one? Right? And she goes from Tricks, right, to Cocoa Puffs, the Fruit Loops. It's actually Fruit Loops, but she says Fruit Loops, right? So she goes through all those, right, left and right, and just that right there in itself is introducing her to new words, right, and new letters, even through a more cartoonish way, graphic way that meets her needs, right? Even though she's loving it, she's eating it through a food, she recognizes the word, and that kind of builds that actual memory and that recognition for words, right? Sight word basketball, right? And this could be sight word bowling, sight word kickball, right? There's many ways that you can do this at home where kids can actually, place words all around large areas and play some type of sport activity where they can score points off every word that they know, or lose points or lose a turn off every word they don't know, right? And creating a competitive, get a little competitive. So for those athletes that go a little too hard, you might want to kind of put some actual disclaimers in there, or put some things where you don't want to focus too much on the game, but focus more on, the actual skill set that's being built. Dear time. Dear time is something that's actually happens in the integrated reading curriculum. None of us touched on that, but Dear time is basically an acronym for Drop Everything and Read. That is something that we borrow for the Children Defense for Freedom School model and IRC. But I also think it'd be something that can be done at home, right? After you wash them dishes, go ahead, 15-minute reading time. Individual, right?
Maybe the whole family can join in.
Of course.
We read
All
a
right?
chapter.
We can read to each other, right? But I definitely recommend Dear Time at home. All right? Current event reading, right? A lot of kids can tell you about what's going on through Facebook, right? A lot of them look at the visuals, but there's always some write-up that's usually behind it, right? Have them read the write-up, right? Don't tell me what the visual you saw, because a lot of times when you see in the video, sometimes the words and the writing be something totally different than what the video show, right? So being able to understand and read the words, read the text, have fun with that. Instruction reading challenge between the family, right? So let's see in the household who can read as many 5-chapter books in a month, right? And seeing, I beat Daddy. Daddy only read 1 or 2 books, right? You'd be surprised how kids want to beat their parents.
Competitive and earn an incentive.
Oh yeah, and that's another one I got too. Yep.
This McDonald's gift card, and you can read all these such books.
Or extracurricular time for iPad, right? So that's one thing that was really talked about. But reading for extracurricular time.
Do that at the schools, like you got a little pizza hut.
Yeah, they used to do that. Yeah, back in the days.
One teacher.
Rainbow reading, rainbow reading.
And the kids get the pizza or chocolate cheese like involved in it. They get the chocolate
I used to do that.
cheese.
It inspired me, right? Some kids need the positive reinforcements, right? The positive behavior reinforcements. So the PBI or family behavior and school support. So ain't nothing wrong with reinforcements or positive reinforcements. Like Tashar said earlier, reading for neighborhood awareness, reading signs, right? Reading different labels of cars, knowing the different brands of the cars, you know what I'm saying? Reading street names, right? Reading iconic symbols, right? Reading monuments, all that stuff within the city and our community is very important. Why? Because the more they recognize words, the stronger they'll get at seeing these words in multiple different contexts. All right? Very important, very important.
While you were saying those, I'm a big food advocate. So I was thinking, like, even at dinner time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You was talking about the cereal too. Put a few of those tricks out and spell some words. And
That's word.
if you find a smaller word, then you get to eat those ones that
Yes.
you
That's
know,
right.
you
That's
have to
right.
make
Cereal.
it.
Remember the alphabet cereal?
Yeah.
Alphabets.
I don't know if they make that for this.
All the little X and Z's and
Play Scrabble.
Yes. And yes, definitely board games. Board games I would definitely recommend, right?
definitely board games.
Uno has draw, the word draw. 1 and 2 has numbers, have different colors. All that stuff is important. You just want to expose them. The more exposure, the stronger they'll get. We do know that there are some kids who need more than the average of these techniques and strategies. A little bit more, how do I put it? Not guided, but mandated support, right? And for those who deserve or have to receive mandated support, I hope that parents really emphasize and follow through with those, right? That come to the home, right? You don't miss no therapeutic session. You don't miss no reading session, right? If it's coming to the home and you're getting the service, make sure you follow through with it. Utilize it. Exactly. Definitely. So we have about another 10 minutes. So what I would like to open up for is any questions from any of
We do have a
our
question.
viewers. Okay.
What books do you recommend for children age 5?
Okay. I think we answered that one earlier, but again, like I said, I didn't really expect any particular age. But again, I recommend that students at age 5 read as many books that are either on grade, above their grade, and at their grade. So that way, we're not really waiting for them to get to 3rd grade to read on 3rd grade level.
Yeah.
We can start practicing that at 1st grade, 2nd grade, right? Now, I know that's crazy, but for some kids who actually are a little bit more advanced, in which we don't spend too much time thinking of, I don't see why not allow them to go a grade higher. And I've seen kids actually perform a little bit better on stuff that's a little grade higher than stuff that's actually on grade. It's weird like that, but I've seen that happen.
The shorter books, like they have, like the.
Yes. And that's another thing too, is Brittany, shorter books, right? It doesn't be a chapter book.
Maybe 5 or 6 pages.
Exactly.
Have the basic word that jumps out like at, cat, bat.
Exactly. You have to say it over and over
Those
again,
standard
recognizing
words,
the word.
those
Yes.
standard site where they start with.
Yes.
Something like that could be a start, and then, like you said, move it up. All right, we did that book. Let's go on to something a little more challenging.
Exactly. What would you say is the most essential part of reading? Would you say it's phonics, comprehension, word recognition?
It's gotta be a mixture. It can't-
I know.
Because I could comprehend it, then be like, I totally missed that whole word that could have gave me more caption of what it was really about, but I didn't know what it meant. So, combination, I'm agree with that. Like,
Yeah. They all go hand in hand.
but I feel like it's traditional school is all about comprehension
It
and
is.
fluency.
But you ain't gonna
That's
do that if you
That's
can't
it.
read the word off the page.
That's why I'm saying word recognition. So I would say word recognition.
But then,
That's what I would say.
But then if you just
That's the
read
most
the
important
words,
part. Because if you get that, everything else allow you to go,
So then maybe
everything else
step.
will fall into place.
Step
That's what I would
one
say.
is word
I would say word recognition. That's why I said the most important.
fluency, comprehension. The next would be, what does that word mean? Or if it's what
That comes later. Yeah, I'm not saying word recognition is the only thing. I'm just saying it's the
That's
most
probably
important.
so it is like a stair step.
Of course, yes.
But
It's a
they
continuum.
all,
They all are needed. They all are needed,
Yes.
without a doubt. Definitely. All right. Before we get to our last words for parents, I would like to share that having home libraries, having books available to the kids at home is extremely important. All right. So some of the books that we have here I would like to share for you is Hair Love.
Hair love.
Yes.
Awesome book.
so it looks little, but we did that in 4th grade.
Yes.
Where this dad had to
Yes.
help her
Yes.
do her hair.
Yes.
And that's
Teachable moments.
It is.
So many.
A
From
dad
adult and
opened
children.
up,
Yes.
Real talk right there.
Yes.
Real talk right
Yeah.
there.
Love that one. Another one we have, I recommend for home.
Chocolate Me.
Chocolate Me. This is by Tay Diggs, actor Tay Diggs.
Rochester known.
Rochester Known, yeah,
yes.
Rochester Born, yeah. I love this book because it's all about how, a boy got teased for looking different, right? And understanding that eventually he figured out that, no, I'm not being teased because I look different. I'm being teased because I look different, right? And he loved it. And he wore that, and that's everything, right? Like the Sharon G. Flake, like you said, skin I'm in.
So being different with it.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. So shout out to all my ladies out there. We don't want to do we don't like to really put politics in nothing that we do, but politics is in everything that we do. So to keep it real with y'all, superheroes are everywhere. This is written by our Vice President, Kamala Harris. It's a very great book. I recommend all young ladies to read this book. It definitely shows the actual story of women being in position to be great and to be awesome in every age, right? So this is a good book. Pecan Pie Baby. I recommend this be read for any young lady out there who's having a baby that has a child, right? It teaches all the importance of basically embracing and welcoming a new baby, right? Jabari Tries. Now this is a series, right? It gets into looking at African American children into being in science as inventors, as mathematicians, as engineers, and this book right here is a part of a series, and I think it's a great book. It shows how he gets down on his problems, and also shows how he overcomes them, right? And overcome them by using not just his individual skill sets, but relying on community and relying on others to show him different ways of looking at things. And last but not least, my favorite, Ada Twist, the scientist. For all those kids out there, or all those parents out there who have a kid that always say, why? 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 This is the why book, and I love it. It gives a great, funny way of how parents go about understanding their very inquisitive and inquiry children, and I love it. Ida Twist, the Scientist. It's a very good book. All right. All right. We definitely recommend that all our parents really take heed to a lot of information we gave tonight. Obviously, we're not the experts, but at Freedom Scholar Learning Center, we're all about being able to instill the love of reading. If you can get your children or your child to love reading, we believe that, it kind of creates a precedent for them to be able to engage in literature texts throughout the rest of their life and to pass it to a successful passage to adulthood. Excuse me. So without further ado, any last remarks from the young great ladies from Freedom Scholar Learning Center?
Yes, so again, our platform, social media, Freedom Scholar Learning Center on
follow that.
Facebook, follow on
that, you heard?
Like and subscribe. Our website, freedomscholarslc.org.
Freedom Scholars,
Please go check our website because we have great information about all the book stuff we share based on our summer program happening this July, summer 2021. We have openings. The enrollment is open for any scholars or parents needing something for their children to do that is fun and literacy based. So please visit our website, freedomscholarslc.org, to get more information about our upcoming summer freedom program.
Salute. Shara, what about you? Any last remarks for the parents?
Just read.
Read.
You read. They read.
We all read.
Good job.
Good job. Good job. GOODJOB. Good job. Good job. What's that chant you saying? Reading books is really cool. Reading books is really cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
The words.
Gain knowledge, do the words. I don't know the rest.
That's enough.
All right. Yeah, we're all set.
This little girl here, come here.
She just
Come here.
with that.
I'm off. We off.